Some time ago I wrote a blog, which is still on our website, which was designed to help differentiate between the classic Ercol 203 armchair and some of its close cousins. And it occurred to me today that as we have some of those close cousins in the workshop at the moment, a quick video might help clear up any remaining confusion. There are three chairs here. The chair on the left is the Ercol 203, the classic 203 armchair, the most popular by far, and several of these pass through our workshop every week. This particular piece has just been completely restored and rewebbed, and is waiting to get its cushions and covers, and then it's off to a new customer. The chair has 8 spindles, and it also has 2 angled supporting struts, which fit into a block which is attached at the back of the chair. Next to it is the 334. The 334 has a smaller footprint, which makes it very popular for bedrooms. As a bedroom chair, it's also very popular in small flats and small cottages. It sits higher than the 203, which for many people is also a plus point, because the 203 is quite a low chair. If you find it difficult to get in or out of it, the 334 may well be a sensible option. It has 7 spindles, and it does not have the angled supporting struts. It's not quite as deep from back to front as the 203, but it's slightly wider, which makes it a very comfortable chair. The third chair is the 335, very similar to the 334, but with a higher back. And once again, this chair does have the 2 angled supporting struts like the 203, which fit into the block at the back. As you can see, this is a chair that we've painted for customer. It's the same height in terms of the seat as the 334. It's the same width, but is slightly deeper from back to front. The key measurement, and possibly the easiest way of differentiating between these two, is that the 203 is about 24 centimetres from the ground to the top of the frame at the front, whereas the 334 and the 335 are both 30 centimetres. It's important to be aware of the difference between these various chairs, because unfortunately the 334 in particular is often sold as a 203, both on eBay and indeed by professional auctioneers who should know better. I don't believe that it's done to deliberately confuse. I think it's simply out of a lack of knowledge. But if you're expecting to get a 203 and you end up with a chair that looks like that, that's because you've bought or you've got a 334. As I say, the 203 is the most popular. Both the 334 and the 335 are showing signs of increasing in popularity. They tend to be slightly cheaper. They're comfortable chairs, and they represent really very good value. Don't go away, because there's one other chair that I want to show you, which in many ways is probably the most similar to the 203. I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, back again. Now, for those of you who are still concentrating, you will spot that that's a sofa, not a chair. However, for these purposes, it doesn't really matter. This is an Ercol 204. It's a very close relative of the 203, and effectively it followed the 203 in the production cycle. The 203 ceased production in 1983, roughly at the time that the 204 started. The 203 came back in 2012 as part of the Ercol Originals range, but that's by the by as far as this explanation is concerned. The 204 has exactly the same arrangement of spindles and struts as the 203, with the diagonal supporting struts at the back attached to a block on the back of the piece. In terms of overall look, design, everything else, it's exactly the same, but the dimensions are different. The key difference is the height of the chair at the front, from the ground to the top of the frame at the front. The 203 is 24 centimetres high, whereas the 204 is 30 centimetres high. You can see that reflected in the slightly higher arms as well. The 204 is not quite as deep, back to front, as the 203, but if you see a picture of a 204 on its own, it is very hard to tell it from a 203. Indeed, a lot of people don't know the 204 exists, and I have hardly ever seen a 204 up for sale that is advertised as a 204. They are nearly always advertised as 203s, both on eBay and in professional auction houses, because people are simply unaware of the fact that there is this additional model, and without having something by the side to compare with, it's pretty difficult to spot the difference. But it's important to know, because obviously the cushion sizes are different. So if you buy a piece, or you've got one that you want to have reupholstered, the cushions for a 203 won't fit it. And if you're buying something to go with existing furniture, maybe buying a sofa to go with a 203 chair, when you put them side by side, you will notice quite a bit of difference. So that's it. That's the last in the family, the 204, made from 83 to 92. Just be careful when you're buying something described as a 203. If you've got any doubt, ask for that measurement at the front. If it's 30 centimetres, it's definitely a 204. That's the end of this little piece, which I hope was useful.